Class 10th Science, Chapter 11 Electricity. Electricity is the eighth wonder of modern world. It has transformed the way we live and operate. In the words of Nicholas Tesla, electric power is everywhere present in unlimited quantities and can drive the world's machinery without the need of coal, oil, gas, or any other common fuels. Electricity has definitely replaced the conventional fuels and it drives everything around us. Electricity was first discovered in 600 BCs. The Greeks concluded that by rubbing an amber crystal against the fur, they could create static electricity. In fact, the word electricity is derived from the Greek word electron, which means amber. We all know about the kite flying experiment by Benjamin Franklin. This experiment demonstrated the connection between lightning and electricity. So, the flow of electricity is called electric current, or electric current is defined as the ordered motion of electric charges in a given circuit. Electric current is the rate of flow of electric charges. It can be mathematically expressed as I is equal to Q upon T, where I is the current and Q is the charge, small t represents time. The unit of electric current is ampere in honor of the French scientist André Marie Ampere. So 1 ampere can be defined as the current flowing through a conductor when 1 coulomb charge flows through this conductor for 1 second. So 1 ampere represented by capital A is equal to 1 coulomb, which is the unit of charge, upon 1 second, which is the unit of time. In a given circuit, when we say electric current is flowing, the direction of electric current is opposite to the direction of the flow of electrons, because the flow of electric current is represented in terms of loss of electron and a P positive or proton charge. Concept of electric potential. Let's consider two tanks A and B, both connecting water, and they are connected together by a small pipe. The tank A has a higher level of water compared to the tank B. In a due course of time, we will notice that the difference of the height of water columns in the two tanks results in flow of water from tank A to tank B. Similarly, when we are talking about electricity, this potential is just like the height of the water column. So the difference in potential at any two given points in a given circuit results in flow of current from the point of higher potential to the point of lower potential, just as we saw in the water experiment. The water was flowing from the higher level tank to the lower level tank. Similarly, the electric current will flow from high potential to low potential. So what is electric potential? Electric potential at a given point is defined as the work done in bringing a unit charge from infinity to a given point. So we can see the point infinity and point A and the movement of electric charge, unit electric charge from the point to A. Electric potential difference. Electric potential difference between two given points A and B on a particular conductor is defined as the amount of work done to move a unit charge from A to B. So we can mathematically express this as V is equal to W upon Q, where V is the potential difference, also represented as PD. W is the work done in moving the charge and Q is the charge itself. This potential difference in a circuit is produced by a battery which consists of one or more cells. The chemical reactions happening within the cell generates a potential difference across the terminals of the cell. For example, if we see a battery which is marked 1.5 volt, it means that the difference in potential between the positive and negative terminal is 1.5 volts. The unit of electric potential is volts after Italian physicist Alessandro Volta. So 1 volt is the potential difference between 2 points if 1 joule of work is done to move 1 coulomb of charge from one point in the circuit to another. So 1 volt represented by capital V is equal to 1 joule, which is the unit of work, upon 1 coulomb. Next is electric circuit, a source of electric power which can be either a battery or a direct AC source. Loads and switches which are connected together by wire is called as an electric circuit. Electric circuit diagram, a schematic diagram of electrical devices connected in a circuit, is called electric circuit diagram. To construct this diagram, we use certain symbols to represent the component of a circuit. For example, we represent an electric cell by two lines, two vertical lines, a larger line for positive terminal and a smaller line for negative terminal. Similarly, you can see in this table there are different symbols that can be used to represent different components of electric circuit. So we can see in this simple circuit we have a battery which is represented by a small line negative terminal and a larger line positive terminal. There is the switch which is right now open, as we can see the circuit is not complete, and there is a light bulb which will glow if the switch is closed and the circuit is completed. George Simon Ohm, he was the first person to study the relationship between the electric flow of charges through a conductor and its dependence on the potential difference. He was the first person to give the concept of resistance, and he also gave the Ohm's law. According to the Ohm's law, if the physical conditions like temperature etc. of a conductor are kept unchanged, that is, if we consider the temperature to be constant, the strength of the current flowing through it is directly proportional to the potential difference across its end. Mathematically, this can be expressed as I is directly proportional to V, or we can also write it in reverse, V is directly proportional to I. So to equate this equation, we put a proportionality constant there. V is equal to Ri, where V is the potential difference, I is the current, and R is the resistance. We can see a simplified diagrammatic representation of the formula where if any two of the quantities are given, we can calculate the third one through this formula. So V is equal to I into R, I is equal to V divided by R, and R is equal to V divided by I. This is a simple method to represent and memorize this Ohm's law and the formula. Now we need to experimentally verify the Ohm's law. So we put a circuit here. We have a battery with a positive and a negative terminal. The negative terminal of the battery is connected to the rheostat. Rheostat is a variable resistance represented by RH. The rheostat is connected to a key K and an ammeter A. Further, the circuit is connected to a resistance R, and the resistance is later connected to the positive terminal of the battery B. There is a parallel connection of a voltmeter V with the resistance R. Now, when the key is pressed, the current starts flowing through the circuit as the circuit is complete. We can record the reading of the ammeter A for current and the reading of voltmeter V for the potential difference across the resistance R. And then we can calculate the ratio between V upon I. This process is repeated 3 times to take 3 different readings, and we notice that the V upon I ratio calculated remains constant for the 3 readings. So, from the Ohm's law, we can equate V upon I to R. So, we conclude that the resistance of the circuit remains constant, and this verifies the Ohm's law. So the question is, what is resistance? Resistance of a conductor is the ratio of potential difference across its ends to the strength of the current flowing through it, mathematically expressed as R is equal to V upon I, where R is the resistance, V is the potential difference, and I is the current flowing through the circuit. The unit of resistance is ohm, of course in honor of the person who discovered it. So 1 ohm is defined as the resistance if the current of 1 ampere is flowing through it when a potential difference of 1 volt is applied across its end. So 1 ohm represented by this symbol is equal to 1 volt upon 1 ampere. Factors on which the resistance of a conductor depends. Now, the resistance of a conductor is directly proportional to the length of the conductor. The shorter the length, the lesser the resistance. The greater the length of the conductor, the greater the resistance. So we can see there is a directly proportional relationship. Second, the resistance of a conductor is inversely proportional to the cross-sectional area, that is, The greater the cross-sectional area, the lesser the resistance. The shorter the cross-sectional area, the greater the resistance. We can see an inverse proportionality relationship here. So, mathematically, we can write it as R is directly proportional to L and R is also proportional to 1 upon A, where we can see an inverse proportionality, where L is the length of conductor, A is the cross-sectional area of the conductor. If we combine the two, we can write R is proportional to L upon A. Now we have to introduce a proportionality constant here to equate this equation. So R is equal to rho L upon A, where rho is a proportionality constant called as the specific resistance or resistivity. So for a conductor with cross-sectional area A and length L, the resistance will be R is equal to rho L upon A, where rho is the resistivity and rho hence can be calculated as rho is equal to RA upon L. The resistivity of a conductor also depends on the nature of materials. Some materials or some metals have a greater resistance and others have lower. For example, copper has a low resistance than iron. The resistivity also depends on the temperature of conductor. The lesser the temperature, the lesser the resistance. It is directly proportional. Now we have to find out about the electrical resistivity. The unit of resistivity, R is equal to rho L upon A. So the unit of rho is hence calculated as rho into m square upon m, where m square is the unit of area and m is the unit of length. So if we strike out m and m from numerator and denominator, the final unit is ohm meter, represented for unit of resistivity. Now, on the basis of this resistivity, the materials can be classified as conductors, semiconductors, insulators and superconductors. Conductors. The materials which have large number of free electrons and low resistivity are called conductors. For example, metals like silver, copper, aluminium and alloys like nichrome and manganese. Semiconductors. The materials that have fewer electrons and have a greater resistivity are called semiconductors like carbon and silicon. Insulators. The materials that do not have any free electrons and have a very high resistivity, that means they do not allow the passage of current through them, are called insulators. For example, glass and paper. There is a special variety called as superconductors. These are the materials whose resistivity becomes zero at a given critical temperature. So there are certain, we have already seen the dependence of resistivity and temperature. So there are certain materials which have zero resistance at a specific temperature. For example, mercury at 4.2 Kelvin temperature has complete loss of resistance, so it is zero resistance. This particular value of temperature for mercury was first found by Heikenkammerich Onnes, and he discovered the first superconductors. Even after this classification, silver is the best conductor of electricity, but since it is an expensive metal, it is not used in regular wiring. For a substitute, we use copper and aluminium wires, although silver conductors or silver wires are used in certain electronic devices that makes them very expensive. Combination of resistance. When resistances are connected in a particular circuit, they can be connected either in series form or in parallel form. Resistance in series. A number of resistors are said to be connected in series if they are joined end to end and the same current flows through each one of them when a potential difference is applied across the combination. So we can see there is a circuit diagram. A battery is connected to three resistors in series R1, R2, R3. A current I is flowing through them and a potential difference of V1, V2 and V3 respectively is applied across the three resistances. So we can say these three resistors are combined to form an equivalent resistance Req, or this is called as the equivalent circuit. Now, if resistance R1, R2 and R3 are three resistances connected in series and the current I is flowing through the circuit, the potential difference across each of the resistance is V1, V2 and V3 respectively. So, the total potential difference is V, which can be represented as V is equal to V1 plus V2 plus V3. That is the total potential difference of this circuit. So, if we put the formula according to the Ohm's law, V is equal to IR. So, we write IR equivalent is equal to IR1 plus IR2 plus IR3 around the three different resistances. If we cancel out I throughout the equation on the LHS and on the RHS, we receive R equivalent Req is equal to R1 plus R2 plus R3. Therefore, when a number of resistance are connected in series, the equivalent resistance is equal to the sum of all the resistances, and the equivalent resistance is always greater than any individual resistance. Moving forward, resistance in parallel. A number of resistors are said to be connected in parallel if one end of each resistor is connected to one point and other end is connected to another point, so that the potential difference across the resistors are same. We can see in the circuit a battery is connected to two resistances in parallel connection, R1 and R2, and different potential difference and different currents are flowing through the same resistance. The equivalent resistance becomes Req. So, if R1, R2, R3 are three resistances connected in parallel and the potential difference V is applied across its ends of the connection, the current flowing through each of the resistance is I1, I2 and I3 respectively. So the total current I flowing through the circuit is I1 plus I2 plus I3. If we put the formula V R upon R equivalent is equal to V upon R1 plus V upon R2 plus V upon R3. If we strike out V from LHS and RHS, we get 1 upon R equivalent is equal to 1 upon R1 plus 1 upon R2 plus 1 upon R3. So, when a number of resistances are connected in parallel, the reciprocal of equivalent resistance, that is 1 upon R equivalent, is equal to the sum of reciprocal of all individual resistance, as we saw 1 upon R1 plus 1 upon R2 plus 1 upon R3. So, the equivalent resistance is lesser than any individual resistance. Next topic is heating effect of current. When a potential difference is applied to the two ends of the conductor, the electrons begin to drift, setting up a passage of current in the conductor. We know this. The moment we complete the circuit, press the key of the circuit, the electrons start moving in the circuit and they set up a flow of current. The movement of electron, however, in the circuit is not smooth. So the drift of electron is not smooth because of the resistance experienced by them of the conductor. Therefore, some work is done in overcoming this resistance and keeping this flow of electron possible, and this work done is converted into the heat energy, thus resulting in the heating effect of current. So James Prescott Joule studied the heating effect of current, and he said that the heat produced in a conductor carrying current depends on three things: the strength of the current flowing through the conductor, the resistance of the conductor, and the time for which the current is flowing. So H, which is the heat, is directly proportional to I square, the square of current, into R into T. This is called the Joule's law of heating. Then we come to electrical energy. The total work done by a current in a circuit is called as the electrical energy. So work done is equal to potential difference into charge. Now, if we remember, the Ohm's law said V is equal to IR, and electric current I is equal to total charge upon the time for which the charge flows. So I is equal to Q upon T, or we can write Q is equal to I and T. Now, if we put these two quantities in the previous formula, W, or the work done, is equal to IR into IT, or we can write W is equal to I square RT. If we rearrange this in according to the Ohm's law, where we put I is equal to V upon R, we can also write W is equal to V in upon R whole square into RT, or V square upon R into T. Electric power. The rate at which the work is done by an electric current is called as electric power. So power is equal to work done upon time. We know work done is equal to VIT. So V into Q. and Q is equal to IT, so we can substitute VIT. So power is equal to VIT upon T, or power is equal to V into I. In terms of the Ohm's law, if we are substituting the value of V and I, we can write power is equal to I square R, or power is equal to V square R. The unit of power is watt, represented by capital W in honor of the Scottish instrument maker and inventor James Watt. 1 watt is the power of an electrical circuit when 1 ampere of current is flowing through it against the potential difference of 1 volt. So 1 watt W is equal to 1 volt into 1 ampere. So this becomes the unit of watt. In terms of calculating electrical energy, we use a bigger unit of power, which is kilowatt, represented by a small k and capital W. Under commercial circumstances, the commercial unit of electrical energy is kilowatt hour, which is the electrical energy consumed when an electrical appliance of 1 kilowatt power works for 1 hour time. This is called as kilowatt hour. So 1 kWh is equal to 1 kilowatt into 1 hour. If we put it in values, so it becomes 1000 watts into 3600 seconds, which means 3.6 into 10 to the power 6, and this is calculated in unit of joules. So 1 kilowatt hour is equal to 3.6 into 10 to the power 6 joules. Practical applications of the heating effect of current. There are various heating devices which are based on the Joule's heating effect of current, like electric iron, electric geyser, electric toaster, electric kettle, and electric oven. All these devices work on the principle that the current flowing through a conductor is capable of generating a heating effect through it. The most common example is the electric bulb. It has a tungsten filament, and when the current is passed through this filament, it gets heated up and a lot of heat and light is emitted, which we can see in form of a glow which is emitted by the bulb. Another application is the electric fuse. Electric fuse is a safety device in which the electric circuits, which is used in the electric circuits of our houses. This device is placed in series with all the other devices of the houses. It has a wire which is made up of a metal or an alloy which has a very appropriate melting point, for example aluminium, copper, iron or lead. So when an unduly high amount of electric current flows through this wire melts, breaking down the circuit. So if larger current are of a specific value are flowing through this circuit, because of the heating effect, the temperature of the wire increases and it melts down, breaking the circuit. Therefore, this circuit breaks and the flow of electric current, very high electric current through the home appliances, is stopped, saving them from any kind of damage. The fuse fire is encased in a cartridge of porcelain, which is an insulator, and then it is inserted into the socket with two metal ends at both sides. The fuses for domestic uses, which are generally used in our house appliances, are 1 ampere, 2 ampere and 3 ampere, also 5 ampere and 10 amperes. The greater value of fuse, like 5 ampere, is used for devices like electric iron, which consumes at least 1 kilowatt hour of electric power.